Dane Ince.
Right.
So do you mind me asking where the name comes from? What heritage?
I knew that was coming. I have no idea. It's a common name in the UK, and apparently there are a lot of people in Turkey with that same spelling. And I asked my grandfather about it one time, and he said that he had no idea because uh, he knew of full-blooded Indians in Redding, California, with the last name Ince, and he had no idea what part of the family they were.
Well, it's not really important at all. Well, I'm just getting to know some of your work lately. I had not been aware of it before, but in reviewing some of the things on Google, I'm going to guess you've been writing and publishing a long time. So what I would like to know is about when and what got you interested in writing poetry and it becoming an important part of your life.
Um, Tragic tragic events in the world, and I had written poems as a teenager, and most of those are gone now. And if I look back on it, I mean, I don't, I think I have maybe one or two from high school uh, that are in a high school journal in storage somewhere. And I'm sure if I looked back at them now, I would probably be horrified at them. So it goes back a long time, uh, it became supplanted with other artistic endeavors and only reemerged uh, at the beginning of the pandemic. And there were two factors for that. And the primary one was uh, the loss of my wife to alcoholism. And that just happened to coincide with the beginning of um, COVID. And so, and the process of, uh, cleaning up and, trying to figure out what to do with the leftover pieces of someone else's life. Uh, I found myself making art out of it. And, and then I started writing, picking up writing again. And I wanted to read the work. And so I went to a Zoom reading because that's what we were doing. And so I would write more poems because I would go to more Zooms. And because I went to more Zooms, I would write more poems because I didn't want to read the same poems over and over and over again. So I wound up with a lot of poems and then wondering what to do about that because I didn't really think that I was gonna get published anywhere. So I thought, well, because if people have attended Zooms, it doesn't take long to realize that there are a lot of people in these Zoom rooms who have tons of experience as artists and writers, and some with degrees and that type of thing, and I see, well, I'm sharing a room with these people, and we're all kind of in the same boat. And so maybe what I would do is publish them first and then publish my work later, so it wouldn't have that. Uh, let's face it, there's a certain amount of ego involved in writing poetry and getting it published, whether you send it to Penguin Books and they publish it for you because they see a commercial interest in it, or you do it yourself in a self-publishing kind of a realm.
Okay, let me ask you about your past project, Outrage Against Racism.
Ah. Outrage Against Racism was born about because I had a partner at the time who was a mixed race woman in the UK, and was very interesting because she identified with her black family the most, and but to look at her, and unless you've been around a lot of mixed race people, it would never occur to you that she was a mixed race person. You might think she's Italian or Mexican or Spanish or something like that. And she was continually having slights and things. And so I thought, well, let's just put together an event and just kind of talk about it. So that's how that came about.
And what about your whole existential novel? Tell me about that.
uh the whole I do want to backtrack a little bit. I'm glad you asked about that. Uh uh there was a time when going to grief counseling and these kinds of things, and or other people would say, "Oh, good. Oh, you're writing. You're working through your grief and stuff." And it used to drive me crazy because I would go, "No, that's not what I'm doing. I just happen to be in this state now, and I'm interested in pursuing this kind of artistic venture." I think of writers as artists, and that's because I come from a fine arts background. And so, to me, it's just a question of, well, is this going to be a watercolor or a sculpture? Or is it going to be a form poem, or I'm just going to write whatever I want, or is it going to be a piece of prose and stuff like that? Obviously, people that are, really deep into writing, invest a lot of time and energy in understanding the structure of language and the tools and the rules and all those kinds of things. As a visual artist, might spend a lot of time, deconstructing and putting back together, the elements of painting and brushstroke and color harmony and all of those things in order to communicate. So I wrote all of those in the whole existential novel, and it was about before, during, and after dealing with the journey of grief. So um, that's what that's about.
Well,
But
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
When did you decide to do I Publish We, that whole website that you have, including Time to Arrive open mic? Well, just tell me about that whole conglomeration there.
Oh, okay. It's actually there may be a typo in there, but it's actually I Publish You, which
Right, right. Yeah,
which go which goes back to my initial thought of, and I just turned it into a pun, with an I and then a you with, a female sheep. And then some people go, well, gee, can't you use another image? Does it have to be? And I'm going, no, it's just a stupid pun. I publish you. And so yeah, that uh so I have spent probably about 3 years kind of meditating on what the state of art, the state of poetry, where that fits into like some kind of a scheme, of where we are. And so I had developed, very loose business plans, and as I progress, I'm finding that I keep developing plans and they keep changing and stuff, but I keep adding to it as uh as I go along. And so the open mic thing that I'm doing, it has to do with the relationship of it's like a vertical integration kind of a thing. I just think, in the world of publishing, publishers probably should have some kind of an open mic or some kind of something like that as part of what they're doing. And mine is not necessarily associated with uh having a venue where people can come and read their work, as necessarily a connection with something that's going to be published. But I do think it's important, to try to strengthen the connection between artists nationally and internationally. And so I just had that in my mind that it should be part of the palette of the publishing part of it. And so I was just thinking about it. This is something I've done often. I will think about something and think it should be a part of something I'm doing, or I should do it, but I don't necessarily take action on it immediately. It's just something that's in my consciousness. And then if there's an opportunity that presents itself, which in this case it did, Time to Arrive was started by an English professor in San Jose, California, and she started it during the pandemic. And then after a while, she decided there were other things that she wanted to do, and I had been to a few, and so she asked me if I wanted to take over. And I said, "Okay, fine, great, yes, I will." So,
Oh,
so
oh,
it's one of those things, a serendipity, or however you might think about it. So, but it was, in my mind at some point, along with doing the publishing, that I would have, some kind of a Zoom platform. And since then, I've added to it the fourth Friday International Poetry Group, which was started a few years ago in Ireland. And the gentleman who was doing that decided not to do it anymore, and asked if some of the people who had been attending wanted to be part of it, or take it over, or run it, or change it into whatever it was. And so I met with the interested people in doing that. And so we decided to continue it. And so now I have an open mic that I'm doing on Tuesdays and then on Fridays. And out of that, they had wanted to produce an anthology of their work, and people had been coming and reading at their venue, and something happened, it fell through the cracks. So uh so in that particular case, there will be some publishing that comes about of an anthology of Irish poets and their friends around the world. So
hmm.
that's that.
So you mentioned you have a fine arts degree. Do you paint? Do you sculpt? What else do you do in the arts?
Oh, actually, I'm an art school dropout because
Oh,
because I decided to take. They didn't call it this at the time. I decided to take a gap year, and but then what that meant was that I didn't have the money to finish up the degree, and I really wasn't going to a notable school. I was just going to a public university in California. And yes, I was studying fine arts. And uh, and part of the process of discovering fine arts is in fine arts is that I discovered acting through that. And so uh, I, I became less interested in pursuing the fine arts aspect, mainly because I couldn't figure out. I wasn't really interested in finding or there wasn't anybody that I felt like that I wanted to uh, be a mentor to me, uh, or that I wanted to be a mentee, because I was feeling like I wanted to find what my own voice was without, trying to, subsume the personality of an artist that was, well established. So I just couldn't wrap my mind around how any of that was going to work anyway, because at that time, my interest in art was, I felt very distant from having a tangible connection to humanity. And what I mean by that, I mean that um, I think this is what makes really good art, when there is that human connection. It's really difficult to make this connection with people in their lives about things that they feel strongly about if you're just investigating everything you can do with the color blue. It doesn't, it's a perfectly valid, and I applaud artists that do that, who, spend their whole careers in this investigation of the medium that they work in, without necessarily having a strong connection to what people are going through in their lives. So this is something I only learned much later, by having a very profound experiences, and I go, oh, okay, yeah, I understand what this could be now.
Okay, so you said you discovered acting. Is that do you regularly act in plays in your area or anything?
No, I've kind of because now I've discovered writing.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's okay. Now we're into writing full blast.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of poems ready to read to us?
Oh, sure. Okay, let me pull this up here. Yeah, I have two or three. I want to read scroll up. This is a tanka from the dedication in a book that I published recently called Destiny Murder. Shape this fedora, the brim of our tango noir, smoke curling over shoulder, looking at me, eyes sadly whisper this. So I actually have, in addition to other people's books that I'm trying to publish, I have a couple of projects that I'm working on. One of them is Texas poems, because I was born and raised in Texas, and so these things come about from looking back uh, on that. I don't really know what to call them except Texas poems. So let me read this one. It's called Wetter. Parma after rain. The progress of the typhoon and the traffic conditions on a Paris street. You and your dog, big stick in her mouth. The rain storm is coming. The cap fits on the head, glove in hand. Wood slatted pyramid zone of confusion. Every day is 1,000 years long. Cannot catch my breath. I love those Texas clouds. Nowhere are they as big, beautiful, or wetter, raining down better than ever on thirsty caliche, reflecting, rolling down the Pecos, the homemade dove trap never worked. Cumulus nimbus confusion, I am, when I say I am, I cannot sense the petrichor. It is the blood, the stack of collapsed pancake hat, mushroom cloud on Mona Lisa's shoulders, black left-handed Picasso. How about that? Fell down from willow bentwood rocker on top of a ladder with a clatter, scatter, pattern, shotgun blast, silent gravity huffing up the hill, the pearls of black smoke curling, dolly mustache waxed and whirling, a Sinatra Vegas mic drop, props, a dusted biplane stunts, gravity fell off the ladder, her best breast bouncing, galaxies, the top button on the cotton grain sack dress, a poppin' gingham, Bobby just a laughing by the well pump handle with the Norman Rockwell clouds in the background pouting. How'd you get up there? Why and what for? thunderstorms coming, cussing, gullies, drinking, drunk. The dust dies down, the dust dies down. Ride in the bed of a pickup truck, watermelons, peaches. If Murray were here, we cannot wait any longer. The bitter peyote buttons up, sandstorm, tumbleweeds blow across the red rock macadam caldera.
Ah, and it was around where Fort Worth you were raised?
My parents moved around quite a bit, and so yeah, I lived in Fort Worth and uh, south of a little town called Zapata and Corpus Christi and Houston and Del Rio.
Oh, wow.
Houston, yeah, quite a range of places there.
Didn't get out to El Paso.
Didn't make it out to El Paso, no.
Okay, do you have one more shortish one?
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I have another, you know, another book that's uh it's about San Francisco streets. And I wrote a poem and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then so from that, then I wrote about a bunch of other poems that were about the streets. This is 6th Street. Sandstone sadness, 6th Street, Skid Row, SRO, decades and decades, dead, dying, still dead, dying, sad, glamour goes, dreams in a bottle, dreams in a baggie, collapsed veins, pulse, tragic traffic into the tenderloin. Where's the mercy? The suffering, unseen heart, working men on street corners, mining misery, the success of failure. Ain't it rich? This blossom of hell unfolds and unfolds, petals of bloody vomit, shit-stained sidewalks, always Skid Row, always Skid Row, always. Hills Brothers coffee can of bones inside the heart's plaster walls, surrounded, smiling, sailing, sparkly, gooey, happy green Jello Bay. Let's hide the empty in the cappuccino foam.
Ah, well, thank you very much, Dane Ince. Ince.
Yes.
Ince? Okay, thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye now. Thank you.